Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel. The channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Well, folks, looks like the Chinese pen market is heating up a little bit. In any event, put it this way, my orders are heating up a little bit. So, be that as it may, that's good news. Probably getting ready for, Christmas sales. So I guess everything is kind of coming to a boil, so to speak. So I'm taking the dive here for you guys. I'm going to take a few hits just so that I could provide you with some insights as to pens that are recently come on the market. So I've got a few coming, a few already published, and this review in particular is going to concentrate on the Majohn V60. You know what? I've seen this pen before, at least in pictures. Or at least I've seen a pen that looks like this, at least in pictures, and cost a hell of a lot more. Be that as may, folks, stay tuned for my review of the Majohn V60. Okay, we're back with the pen. First of all, I just thought I'd show you how the pens came in. I ordered two. I ordered a black with gold trimming, so I could see what the gold trimming looked like, and I ordered a yellow with the silver trimming. That's the box, a Moonman box or a Majohn box that I've seen before. When you open it up, it comes with a little instruction booklet in terms of how to. It is a piston filler, how to fill the pen, I guess. I didn't take a close look at it, but nothing extraordinary. Funny enough, it came, well, one of them, the one I ordered with the long knife or the long blade lemon nib, came with an extra nib, which was its original Majohn or Moonman Fine, which is a nice touch, so I get both. The pen came in a kind of a plastic a sleeve, and here's the pen. So that's it. I ordered a yellow one and a black one. We'll take the box, put that aside. There you have it. Now, the one I ordered with the long blade or the long knife, here's the nib. It's a lemon nib, and yeah, it's that kind of grind. That's an architect grind, which I hate and I can't write with. So you'll see that in my black pen, I replaced this nib. I chose to put another nib in it. I put a Bexley broad, which is, I think, a Yowo broad nib instead of another fine, just to give you a different look in the writing samples. But I did want you to know that I paid for this sucker quite a bit. And you know what? I hate it. I try it. It wasn't writing properly. I'll show you the writing sample. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead. We'll get to that nib in just a few minutes. First of all, the pen. Why don't I look at the gold? And well, we take a look at the silver as well, just to give you an idea. Folks, I have mixed feelings about this pen. I was very enthusiastic as soon as it came out. I ordered it and I was looking forward to it just because I've been kind of looking at the original Almas 360 to order it. So The resin is quite ordinary, but you know what? It's black resin. It's not anything more or anything less than what you get when you get this kind of black plastic resin, or call it whatever you want. It's quite handsome, actually. It's done very nicely. You can tell there's this very nice etching there on the center band. Funny, it says here Moon Man and not Majohn. Another gold band there, and this activates the piston filler, which is a little awkward because of the triangular shape of the pen. But generally speaking, it is well done. I can't really see anything wrong with it. Even the edges here are not bad. It's not the greatest, but it's fair. It's fair. I mean, I can feel some texture just because you're twisting that open. So if you don't put it exactly the way it was, but it's kind of a little bit uneven there. Okay, just a little bit. Now, is it because I didn't put it back to where it should be? Perhaps, yeah, perhaps. But there you have it. The clip is really nice. It's just stiff. It doesn't move. I think the way it operates is that you just kind of slip the material underneath, because this thing doesn't open at all. But it gives it kind of that bent look. It's nice. Very nice. I don't know if the original Omas has a similar clip. I should have checked. And maybe when I take a break here to move from one portion of the video to another, I'll look that up and let you know. But there you have it. That's the gold trimming. The silver trimming, of course, same thing. And, again, yeah, you got to kind of line it up properly, but it's very nice, very smooth, done really, really well. I love this yellow, I can tell you, and I prefer with the silver, the yellow. So let's see how many turns. No turns, folks. It's a snap-on. Just kidding. It's a snap-on for both, because you wouldn't really be able to turn it, would you? There you have it. To reveal the nib, and I guess that's the way you should put it in. But you can put it in backwards or any side, in fact, and it will work. So you don't have to pay attention to how the nib is positioned. There you have it. Now let's stick to the gold for the rest of the review. And as you could see, there's another band right there where the section is. The section is comfortable if you like this triangular shaped pen. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, of course, having such decorative section, plus there's a little edge there, makes a real mess when it's time to ink that pen. So you got to make sure you clean it up properly, but that's okay. It's just a few seconds more. There's no big deal. Now, I did change the nib, and I kind of positioned the nib in a certain way just because of the way I handle my, the way I position my nib when I write. I did try to turn the nib to see if it unscrewed. It doesn't. So I kind of pulled it right out in order to change nibs, and it's something that I should not have done. In fact, in so doing, I damaged the feed. You could see the kind of the little sections of the feed were kind of bent. But what I noticed is that there's two grooves. I don't know if you could see it better in the yellow. Maybe you can. Yeah, I don't know if you could see that. But there are two little notches in that nib section, and perhaps this works with the Majohn or Moonman wrench used for what, the P36. So if you give me a second, I'll go get that wrench and see if it works in that way. So I've gone and got a few of those wrenches, and I'm not sure which one, and if I indeed had one. Let me just try this one. This one, I believe, is what I'm getting, with Asvine. But does it fit? The answer is no. It's too wide. Then there's this little Ongdian that has these little notches. Let me see if this one fits. That's too wide. And I could have sworn that this was for another pen and not Majohn, but maybe it's Majohn. Let me just see. I don't know, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not sure that this wrench is the right one. Certainly I'm having a hard time fitting it in. So maybe this is not the Majohn wrench. I tried to look for it, and I can't find any others. But verdict's still out for that. So not sure if it'll work or not. I ended up pulling out the nib and replaced this nib, which is absolutely awful. This lemon, long blade, long knife, call it whatever you want. It wasn't writing. And I replaced it with a Bexley, which is basically a Yowo broad nib, which fits in nicely and appears to write. It's not the right feed because the Yowo feed is a little bit bigger. But having said that, we'll see how this writes. Otherwise, you got a fine Moonman nib, which is in the other pen. So there you have. So that's the outside. It's attractive. It's interesting. Now, the verdict's still out as to whether or not I will like writing with it, but we'll take a look at that in a few seconds. So let's do some comparisons, size comparison, give you an idea of how big that pen is, and also provide you with some measurements. Okay, so we're back. Pulled out a few Majohn pens to compare. This is the 135, I believe the P135. This is the T2. This is the P136. This is a Omas Vintage Extra. This is my Montblanc 149. That's one of the subject pens, and that's the other, of course. As you could see, I'm having a hard time putting this pen in the slot of that wooden base because it's kind of very girthy. In fact, you would say that it's even bigger than my 149. So that gives you an idea. Now, where you could see that they've also copied the band is using the same kind of decorative, I guess, Greek, is it Greek scrolling, if you will? One center band, only on the V60, okay? But, when you look at material, this resin and this resin, you can tell this is a little more plasticky than the original resin that Omas used. And of course, it's much more plasticky than this. Is it equivalent to the P136? I'm not an expert, but I would say to you that this is better quality than this. It's just a sense that I have. I may be wrong. But there you have it in terms of how the pen looks. Oh, by the way, we didn't cover that. The pen does post, but you kind of have to get it to stay there. And when it posts, you can see it's kind of a little bit crooked, so it's not perfect. But if you can get it to stay there, and it will stay there, it does post. And the pen is fairly light, even posted, so it's doable, not a problem, if you absolutely want to post. There you have it. Okay. Now, what else did I wanted to? Oh, I wanted to show you the P136 does have those slots to remove that nib, and this little contraption fits in nicely here, but I can't get it to fit in the other pen. So verdict is still out as to whether or not these nibs can actually be turned, unscrewed, or whether or not it's just a, pull them out friction fit. I pulled them out. Very difficult to pull out, I got to tell you. Wasn't easy, and I ended up damaging the feed, as I mentioned. But there you have it. Those are the pens capped. Here are the pens capped. So as you can see, the pen is a very nice sized pen. It's bigger than my Montblanc 149, almost equivalent to this P135, both in length and girth, I would say to you. Okay. There you have it. And by the way, so the pen, when it's not posted, sits very comfortably in your hands. It is a little lightweight, very lightweight. And of course, it's a piston filler. So when you've got to fill it, you've got to turn this. And I got to tell you that because it's triangular, it's a little weird. You almost have the sensation that when you're turning that, you might break something. But, it's just triangular shaped, and you have to just be careful, I would say. It just felt so weird when turning this triangular shaped piston knob, put it this way. So those are the pens uncapped and unposted. Here are the pens posted. I've removed the P136 from the picture because it doesn't post at all. But as you can see, this pen ends up being the biggest of them all, even bigger than the P135, which is just sitting on top of the top knob or top finial. There you have it. That's the comparison of these pens. We'll put up some measurements and then do that writing sample. Okay, so we're back for the writing sample. First of all, the ink I'm using in both pens is this Andean teal. A very nice ink, I got to tell you, inexpensive. I think they're about 4 or 5 colors. If you found them on Amazon, pick them up. I think they're worth the purchase. They're not expensive. Big bottle. What is it? 60 milliliters. So, and really perform really well, as you shall see in the writing sample. The paper I'm using is Tomo River. This is probably a Sanson paper because it's a most recent purchase. I know this notebook used to come in the original, but now, before we go into the writing sample, I did want to mention, and we're going to go to my computer to show you the pricing, because some of you said, when I introduced the pen in a recap, said, wow, it cost you a lot more than it cost me. Well, here's what it cost me, and I think I got ripped off. I paid my, one of the pens, the one with the long knife nib, $73. What a ripoff. I just, I did want to try again that lemon long knife. Thought it'd be worthwhile. For me, it's not. I mean, I can't write with it. I had to, I'd show you the writing. Let me just show you the writing sample during the week when I used it. Here it is. That's the original fine nib, which was scratchy, and I had to kind of open it up a little bit. And before I did that, I even changed the ink just to see whether or not it was the ink the problem. Then I opened it up and tested it, and it was a little bit better. That's the Moonman Fine. This is what I got out of the lemon long blade. Just hate it. Now, is it Vincenzo that just can't write with that nib? Perhaps. But it was skipping on me. I opened the tines. I smoothed it out. There was nothing to do. So you know what? I said, I'm taking the bite, taking that nib out of... And maybe, in 5 years, I will learn to appreciate an architect nib. It took me 10 years to appreciate a fine and a medium, so you never know. So I'm keeping it. And then, of course, you'll see the 2 writing samples improved in a minute. So there you have it. So let's first deal with this is the Majohn or Moonman Fine nib. and I will make some comments on how comfortable this pen is, or at least how comfortable I am writing with this pen. So this is the Majohn V60 yellow silver trim. The nib is a Majohn fine nib, number 6 steel. The ink is the Dieman teal. Very stiff, but it now writes. It didn't write originally. Well, it did write, but it was scratchy and not very pleasant. There's still a little bit of feedback, but it's now completely under control. As you can see, does it give me some line variation? Not really. I mean, if I push it, I can get some, but I just get a thicker line all the way through, but there's really no spring to this nib. Okay, so there you have it. Reverse writing on this nib. Yeah, very nice actually. And you'll get an extra fine. Well, extra fine. So that works. Fast writing. Yeah, fairly good. Very nice. Now it's very nice. Okay, let's take a look at now what I did with this one is I replaced it. Okay, now I've got a broad Yowo nib in there essentially. So this is the Majohn V60 black. The reason, I mean, there's no point. I've replaced the nib, so this is not what you're going to get when you buy. But one thing I did do, because I pulled out the nib as opposed to, let me just try to get it to focus here. And I'm not sure you could see it, but it is slightly, you see, it's not really centered. It's slightly to one side. I didn't put it exactly in the middle, just because I have a tendency to turn my nib a little too much. And if I do that with this triangle shaped pen, it kind of makes things even worse. So this way the pen is there, but the nib hasn't turned quite as much. And I find myself writing much better with it. And because originally with that Architect nib, I was getting cramps, literally, not knowing how to hold it, but having turned it a little bit now, of course this nib is luscious. I mean, it's a steel number 6, essentially a Yowo broad. With this triangular shaped, you're a little bit like Lamy, I guess, where you have no choice. I have a tendency to hold the pen a little higher up so that a little lower down it's kind of cramping on me, but a little higher up I kind of have a better, it flows better. and it's much lighter. So I love this nib on the, now that I have this nib on this pen, I'm going to use it. But that long blade, unless you know what you're doing, I don't recommend it. So there you have it. In terms of likes and dislikes, here, we still have some room here. Likes. I mean, I like the triangle for the looks. It's copied, but it is what it is. Okay. The material, kind of cheapy, you know. But on the other hand, you know, I got to say, when I got this originally, which is the Omas, I felt almost ripped off. I couldn't believe how ordinary this plastic is. I was expecting something a little more substantive. But, you know, this thing has survived I don't know how many years, still in good condition. And, of course, the nib is why this pen exists in my collection. But having said that, you know, it's not any different. It's just, it's very light, and you get the sense that you just bought a plastic pen, and it looks like that. I thank God for all these engravings, which brings me back the bands, or the trimmings, I should say. Very nice. The dislike, you might dislike the triangle section. May not like it, just like some people don't like Lamy Safari. The nibs were a disaster, both of them. But I got to tell you, with a normal hand-polished, at least that's what they call it, lemon nib, never had a problem. Never had a problem with Majohn nibs either, generally. So this is the first time I had an issue. And it's just because the tines were a little bit too tight, and you can see there was no flow. And maybe this just, you know, the way I like them, a little juicier. But that long blade was not worth the price. The price is also, I find it's a little steep for what I paid for it. You know, anywhere between, what, $50 and $75. That's steep for this pen. That's my feeling. I mean, it is a piston filler for what it's worth, because there's no ink window, so that's another dislike. So cleaning this pen, especially with this triangular knob, just hope I don't break anything. Yeah, that's my feeling. So that's it. Is this a you know, an everyday carry, or what I call a go-to pen? Why not? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is triangular, so you might get fed up with it. I give it maybe 7 on 10. And that raises the other issue that this decorative band here might be a pain in the rear end when it comes time to inking this pen. So you should take note of that. Just have to be careful, because otherwise you'll get, you know, ink all over your fingers. But I can tell you that now that I've put in that juicy broad nib in here, yeah, definitely going to be used. It is a classy and expensive looking pen until you put it in your hands. But there you have it, folks. So that's it. That's my review. The Majohn V60. I mean, at least the hands off. They're doing something. Dieman is sleeping. Okay. Well, I got one pen coming from Dieman, a wooden pen, and I hope it's not cracked like the last wooden pen I bought from them. So, you know, there you have it. I think it's not a pen that everybody will like. I don't believe that I can give it a big, enthusiastic, absolutely go for it sort of a review like I've done with the Majohn G16 or J16 or J6, depending on which model you buy. But it's an interesting pen, and certainly it's an eye catcher with this triangular shaped. And anybody who's thinking of spending hundreds of dollars on the original Majohn 360, well, this gives you an idea of what it feels like holding it, and you may not like the writing experience. So there you go. You might save several hundreds of dollars. At least I am. I'm not going to buy an Majohn 360. I'm not sure I like that triangle. And I think, I forget who else does it. I think Peniter has come up with a triangular shaped nib, and others. So I know, it's always intrigued me as to whether or not I would like it. And unless you're prepared to turn the nib, and not all sections will give you that, the facility to turn the nib slightly to the left or the right. And so it almost makes it oblique in your positioning so that you could write better. So there you have it, folks. Thank you very much. Grazie molto. Enjoy your pens. And stay tuned. Please subscribe if you like the video. Like if you dislike it, please let me know why. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.